To everyone who's ever had a brother, sister, or parent that loved to play games, we all share the same special memory of watching them play.
No, are you stupid or something? That's not the way how you build a mansion. Here will be 1, 2, 3.
Hey, Sassy. No, not like that.
We'd often sit beside or behind them and watch in awe as they beat the level we spent hours trying to beat. Your eyes are wide open as they do things you never knew how to. You'd root for them because you know they're the only one that could possibly finish it. Even though you're not playing it, you're just as involved in the game as they are. But why is that? What causes us to be so involved from just watching? What do we get out of that? Before we can answer those questions, we need to start with the science behind it all. There's science behind it. In the brain lies a group of cells that were recently discovered known as mirror neurons. A neural system that is the key component to human development. The system is responsible for how humans learn and mimic what they see. It is in this system that allows those that are visual learners to excel. When we watched our older family member or friend play a level that was difficult or confusing, we'd watch them with great interest to see how we could do it ourselves. What the discovery of the neurons did for psychology is akin to what DNA did for biology. Through the discovery of the mirror neuron system, neuroscientists were able to connect how the system affected other components of the human psyche, such as empathy. Studies have shown that people that are empathetic have a hyperactive mirror neuron system. It causes them to not only learn new skills, but be more involved in the actions that occur. So when you watched your brother beat the final level in Halo 3 on Legendary, you felt the same thrill he did as he drove down the ramp to make the big leap. It was almost as if you were the one playing it. The act of watching people play games gained popularity back in the 1970s with arcades. People who went to arcades back in the day remember the times where everyone would gather around one machine to watch someone hit a high score. Everyone felt the same tension the player felt as they were in uncharted territories. In the 1980s and 90s, it all changed with the rise of home game consoles. People of all ages were now able to play high-quality games like Super Mario 64 in their living room. For those that had siblings, the experience of watching someone play became more personal. Instead of watching some stranger play, we now watched our brother or sister. When I was about 5 years old, every Saturday my brother and I would have sleepovers at my cousin's. My brother and cousin would play on the GameCube and I would always just watch. They'd take turns trying to beat dungeon bosses in games like Ocarina of Time and Wind Waker, but they would never hand the controller over to me. Anytime I'd ask to play, I'd get a controller that was unplugged. And almost every time that happened, I really thought I was playing. Even if I did get the controller, I knew I could never match their skill. I would die within seconds every time. That's how most games were for me. I remember trying to play Pikmin by myself, and when I got to the Forest of Hope, I would always get my brother to beat the birds for me. I was terrified at the idea of losing any Pikmin during that fight, so I didn't want to attempt it. I trusted my brother more for it. Every time I watched him play, I admired him more and more. I wanted to be just as good as him when it came to games. And, well, everything else. He was my role model. As I grew older, the days of watching them play were over. I was finally handed a controller that was plugged in and played whatever games I could with them. I believe the days of watching someone else play were over. And while that still remains to be true, something completely unexpected happened about a year ago. Back when I discovered my favorite game of all time, Outer Wilds. I have a younger sister. She's a couple years younger than me, and to be honest, she can be annoying. Like, very annoying. She tends to ask questions she already knows the answers to. She's loud, and she always seems to come knocking at my door at the worst times. She would always yell on the other side, "Hey yo, let me in!" And I would always reply with, "No, go away." It was like every day. One night after I finished Outer Wilds and was about to begin the DLC, Echoes of the Eye, my sister did what she normally did and knocked on my door. She asked if she could come in, and right as I was about to say no, I remembered something about her. She was obsessed with anything space related. The game I was playing was a space exploration game, so I thought it wouldn't hurt to let her in and show her what I was playing. I unlocked the door and she immediately rushed to my bed to lay on it. I sat back down without saying a word to her, as I assumed she just wanted to relax in my room. But as I pressed resume and the beautiful game soundtrack started playing as I explored one of the game's planets, I remember her asking, "What are you playing?" Normally, when I'd let her in and she'd ask me that, I would tell her the name of the game and the conversation would end there. But for this game, it was different. After telling her the name and expecting the conversation to end there, she proceeded to ask me another question. "What's the game about?" The thing about this game is that you can't really explain it and do it justice with one sentence. I didn't want to give it a half-assed description because it was a game I was obsessed with. No one I really knew at the time played the game, so I didn't really have anybody to talk to about it. I needed to get my thoughts out to someone. And so I did with my sister. I told her everything. The history of each planet and the Nomai, the time loop you're stuck in and what you need to do to try to get out of it. She listened to every word. Her phone was tossed to the side as her eyes were glued to the screen in wonder while I explained the story. I then told her about the DLC that I was about to start. She asked me what it was about, to which I simply told her, "I don't know, I'm going in blind. I hear it's scary though." To which she replied with, "Ooh, I want to watch." And so I started playing the DLC with her. We worked together to figure out the puzzles, and every time it would get late, she'd say before going to bed, "Let me know when you're gonna play it again." And so every night from that day, I did. We spent a week discovering new things and theorizing the lore. We would both get scared at certain sequences. And by the time we got to the end and uncovered the truth, we were both left emotional. It was only until the end though when I realized something. That was the first time I ever really let my sister watch me play. It was a head scratcher. I kept trying to recall other times, but I couldn't. I always turned her away whenever she asked to come in. A few days after finishing the game, I was still bothered by this thought. I remember hanging out in her room one night. She was playing the violin, trying to play the Traveler's theme. I smiled and I asked her, "So you were really into the game?" She stopped playing and smiled. "Dude, yes, it was so good. I wish you had told me about the game earlier so I could have watched you play it more." I smiled back and looked at my phone as she continued trying to learn the song. I let her words sink in, and the more they did, the more I was filled with regret and guilt. I bothered my brother and cousin constantly. They always let me watch though, no matter how annoying I was. I got so much out of watching them play that the memories were ingrained in my mind. But with my sister, I felt like I robbed her of those special memories every time I told her to go away, all because I wanted to be left alone. The fact that she wanted to learn to play the Traveler's theme was a clear sign that the memory of us playing together would stay with her forever. I caught her every now and then talking to her friends in Discord about the game, how she watched me play it and thought it was the best game ever. When we'd go out together and drive, I would sometimes play the soundtrack and we would both hum it. We shared an experience unlike any other. I loved playing the game for her and she loved watching me play it. I wondered what she got out of watching me play, but it didn't take long to figure out what it was. It wasn't just the experience of the game. It was the precious time she spent with me. A special memory of watching someone play a game.